Cole Swindell is here this week to keep us company, and we're going to talk all about your single, which is in the top 5 right now. We'll talk all about this new album. We'll talk about the tour, but first I'm going to have to ask you a million questions about this baby.
Yeah, that's kind of taken over everything in our lives, and I'm totally cool with that. It's been awesome.
Awesome. Well, congratulations,
First
of all.
Thank you.
How is Courtney feeling? How's she doing?
She's great, yeah. I think the first trimester was a little rough. She, didn't have much energy, and it was I was like, wow, this is a lot different. I noticed she does a lot around here. She's, but she's feeling good, and everything has gone great so far. So we're just really thankful.
Yeah. Well, you guys announced a few weeks ago, as you started telling friends and family this, I'm sure like months ago now, who maybe had like best reaction of everyone you guys told?
I mean, both of my brothers, obviously, and their wives were really excited. My sister-in-law Lynn, they have 3 boys, and they've always wanted a girl, so it's cool to see her reaction to this. And obviously Courtney was hoping it was a girl, so all the good things. As long as Courtney's good and the baby's good, I'm good with whatever. Yeah. So I'm very excited about it though.
Did you have a hunch either way, boy or girl?
I thought it was gonna be a boy. I didn't think. I don't know. I just I guess one of my brothers has a girl, so I do have a niece, so I guess it was a possibility, but I don't know how that works. Honestly, I was fine with whatever. So we're I'm terrified and excited and just all the things, but it's really cool to hear other people the way they talk about it. And Courtney's sister Laura has had a baby about 1.5 years ago, and so she's been dealing with that, being an aunt, loving that. So it just feels like good timing.
For sure. And I won't ask what the name is, but have you guys landed on a name?
We're I think we're leaning something family oriented from both of our families. So it's I know that's a special thing. So I think we're close. We got a few good options.
All right, good. Well, we'll talk music now. Your latest single, Forever to Me, in the top 5. This was your first dance at your wedding with Courtney. Had she heard the song before that day?
Yeah, I had. Okay. I mean, I'd like to say I kept it for the the celebration, but I did not. I had to play it for her as soon as we wrote it. I just knew, I wasn't like trying to find my wedding song. I'd had some songs written, love songs that were different, and I was like, I just wasn't feeling it for that. And when we wrote that one, it just kind of the whole vibe of it just felt like I was like, this could be it, and so I was excited, and I told her about it and sent her the little work tape of it, and she loved it, and it just kind of seemed right to use that one. But it was a lot of pressure. I mean, that's a different type of song to write, and I'm just so thankful that people out there have been able to compare their stories to it, and just it's, I don't know, been cool to have a different type of song out there for me. It's something personal, but obviously it's something a lot of people can relate to. So
has there been any other song that you put out that people have like used as a first dance song? I'm like trying to think of your catalog in my head.
Golly, definitely not. I didn't have these types of songs the majority of my career, so I think the songs they were listening to at the bars, ordering drinks is the kind I've had. But this is I think obviously You Should Be Here. I think some people have used it in like moments, like lifetime thing, but not like a love song or anything like this. So it's been neat to kind of see that as well.
Very much a new era for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Talk more about the day that you guys wrote this song and kind of how it all came together.
Yeah, we were. It was in January a couple years back. We were at the national championship the year Michigan won. I'll never forget that. And I just last minute asked my buddies Graylin James. I was like, "Hey, you want to go out on the road? Right? I got a show this weekend at the national championship. We'll get tickets to the game, and maybe we can write some." And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "You want me to bring somebody?" I said, "Yeah." Who are you thinking? And he said Rocky Block. I was like, "Dude, I've been wanting to write with Rocky," and so that was our first kind of trip together. And the first night we were there, we were kind of up late talking about what we were going to write the next day, and they said, "Do you have your wedding song?" And I was like, "No, I don't think we've actually nailed that down." And they were kind of talking to me and asking me about Courtney, and somewhere I said, she's forever to me, and they kind of both looked at each other, and it was like, we have to write that. And so kind of got a rough start on it, and by the time I woke up the next morning, Graylin and them had the kind of guitar riff down, and we literally were almost late to the game because I was like, I could not care less about making it on time to the game. Let's finish this song, and we did. And it's a special song to us, and been cool hearing other people's stories, and to get to write it at such a, I love sports, so to have that story around it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And then the new album out June 27th, Spanish Moss, 21 songs on here. Talk about why these 21.
Yeah, it's, the process was, parts of it were great, parts of it weren't ideal, but I think that's what makes albums. It's literally different seasons of life happen in between albums, and that's what I've always tried to do. That I said, the best song wins, but when you're working on something for over 2.5 years, I think you build up stuff that you love, and it just kind of, that's a new thing. People were putting out a bunch of songs, but I certainly didn't want to just put out 21 songs to put them out. I mean, these are all, I had to leave a few off that I wish I wouldn't have, but it just kind of just felt right. I usually have like 12 songs. This is 12 backwards, 21. So that's not why we did that, but it is, it's going to give the fans the way people consume music, and they're, after a few months of album being out, they're ready for something else. So we're going to give them something to hold them over for a little bit, but I'm not going to let it go 2.5 years for my next project. But I really do think that the whole process, as long as Forever to Me has been out, it's allowed me to get this album just right, and timing is everything. And I really do. It's another instance I've been proven wrong. Like, this is how it's supposed to happen, and I really do think the album will be a result of that.
For sure. One of the things that I noticed looking at it is just kind of like the number of people you worked with on this album.
Yeah.
Like 46 writers on this.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
So I couldn't figure it out, but I literally put it into ChatGPT and I was like, how many different people are on this?
Yeah, no, that's
like 46.
That was a combination of, like I've been saying, over 2 years, and a lot of different songs, different songwriters, but also producers. I mean, that's kind of when I branched out a few years back, is there's just so many talented people in this town, and a lot of the times these people write the songs with you, and when you're in the room and you have the vibe going, it's hard to recreate that sometimes. So I wanted to give people a chance that wrote the song. If they produced, then let's just do it, man. Let's keep the same energy. And like Devin Dawson, I've always been a fan of his, and getting to write Spanish Moss with him and a couple other buddies, but then for him to step in and produce it, and him to say, that's the first time anybody's trusted him to do something like that, is just, that means a lot to me, because I've been a fan of his, and to have that song with him, and just stories like that. There's people, Will Bundy, I've never worked with Will before, and to have him do a few, Jimmy Robbins, Zach Crowell, Jordan Schmidt. I mean, it's just, it's almost, we were joking, like, who didn't produce it? But but I think it did make the album what it is, and I think there's a lot of different types of songs on there, and it just kind of fit each producer. So we're excited about it. For sure. To me, I thought it was such a cool thing, because it kind of like what a cool way to just like support this town and the community of creatives here. And I'm so glad you noticed. I know you understand that. And to me, come up through the songwriting world, it's hard to get songs on albums. Even people putting 20 songs, it's still hard. I mean, there's a lot of talented writers out there, and everybody brings something different. I think it's cool to branch out, but then, also have the people that have written with you, through this whole time too. So it's a process, but everyone's unique, and this album is definitely unique. Lots of ups and downs, wondering when or if it was ever going to even be done, and to now just be excited about it again. There's no better feeling. Like, we all got into music because of the way I think it makes us feel in some way, and sometimes being in the middle of it takes some of that away sometimes, but it's, when it comes back, it always does, and it's just it feels right. So yeah, I can only imagine like the emotional roller coaster you go on trying to put an album together, and then deciding when it's going to come out, and like the timing of like, it's just insane. It's a lot. Everything has to have a reason, and like, have a purpose, and it's just when you're being creative, sometimes that doesn't work like that. You are waiting. But I think me just being able to do it this long, one of the things you might not know is just knowing when it's right. I could have easily been like, this is, we've got a good album here, but I think the success of the last one just put a good kind of pressure on you. Like, it ain't there yet. And to finally have that feeling like, all right, I want to go listen to it in my truck over and over, like, that's a good feeling. I didn't have that for a while, and just to have that back, it just knew, like, now it's right. So we'll see what everybody thinks about it, but it's definitely it was a different process for me. Is your truck where you usually go to listen to songs? Like, is that where you go for, like, just because, obviously to have different sets of headphones, and the team that we're all listening, approving stuff, and but to me, I like to get out there in the car where people are just going to be listening to it. Or obviously, I love golf, and just to listen to music in carts. I like to, if I'm out just hitting balls by myself, I may just check it out there, and just to hear it, in places people are really going to listen to it. And but I think the vehicle just by myself is a good place to listen.
It always takes me a couple listens. Like I'll do like headphones, kind of just like listen to it on like a crappy iPhone speaker, but then like the car is always the true test for me. It's wild because it does hit differently in different places.
It really does. And I mean, to me, I'm living with the demos of the songs, and then you're doing the album cut and it sounds a little different, and you've listened to the demo 1,000 times and it just throws you off for a minute, and you got to remember nobody else has heard this. It's fine. It's just it's a lot that goes into it that people don't see to get it just right. But obviously we're artists. I know we overthink things as well, so it's it's been fun getting it just right, and I just can't wait to have new music out. I mean, that helps everything, the touring, the people are ready for new music, and I'm ready to, me and the band, to get in there and start learning these new songs and take them on the road.
For sure. Talk about deciding to name the album after Spanish Moss.
Yeah. That's always interesting how that happens. I mean, we had, you name it after a song. Sometimes you name it, we've had one with my name, obviously. And this one just, I don't know, when we were writing Spanish Moss, it just, it started with a story. I'll try to make this quick as I can, but we were playing golf down 30A, and we pulled up this hole, and Jordan Minton was like, "What's that stuff called?" And I was like, "What, Spanish Moss?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's it." And I was like, "Dude, I grew up all around that." I was telling him this story about my dad, a place he loved outside of Savannah on the coast, and I just remember, all the Spanish moss around there, and it made me think of this story. One of the last times I was with him, I left to go back for Christmas to my mom's, and I got home from the coast, and I looked back, and there was like something hanging out of my gas cap, and I walked back and looked at it. It was a handful of Spanish moss he had, I guess, slid in there in my gas tank. That's just how he was. He was thoughtful, and he, I guess, wanted me to think of him when I saw Spanish moss. So I told them that story, and they're like freaking out. They're like, "Dude, we have to write this." And it, song, where they come from sometimes don't always end up how they're written. And obviously this song doesn't sound anything like that story, but it's crazy how songs start and how they're born and where they end up. And to me, just having that personal connection to Spanish Moss, and then honestly, I've never done anything that felt like that. The song, it just felt like a new vibe, and just something cool to name a project. And I could not be more proud of it. The actual album cover, Jordan Minton, if you look at the real picture, I'm in the bottom of it, like walking off the green, but we cropped it up to where you could see the Spanish Moss. But we took the picture the day we had the idea of the song, and just the whole, sometimes it all comes together, and it just feels how it should. And that's one of those songs that was worthy of naming the album after. And I think I can't wait for people to hear all of them, because I think it's just a different stuff than I've done before, I think.
For sure. I got the chills when you were telling that story, because I feel like that's
I know it's a little long, but it's very important, I think, to this album.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important, and it's probably like one of those stories about your dad that like you would not have thought of that if Jordan hadn't said it. So it's got to feel so like
that kind of stuff. I have chills, because you think about stuff and what we do, and that's scary. If I wouldn't have been in the cart with him that day, it would have never had, like, just stuff like that. I mean, it gives me chills, because you just don't ever know. You look for songs, you try to write them there, but they just come out of moments. You got to be paying attention, and that's one that that kicked that whole vibe of the album like started that day, and it just you just never know. So
that's really beautiful. Yeah. Besides Spanish Moss, what other songs from the record are you excited for people to hear?
Oh man, there's obviously all of them, but I've lived with some of them longer than others that we did first, and there's obviously some great ones in there, and then some of the ones at the very end I feel like completed the entire album. So I don't know. Dale Jr. is a title that I think people are going to be like, "What is that?" It's not what you think it is. It's a very special song to me. I think that's a unique one on there for sure. We Can Always Move On is just it just feels like a summer jam. I really am excited for people to hear those, because I've been singing about real life moments, some serious stuff, but some of these fun songs are kind of what got me into the whole thing. So I still like to have those, and this is one that I think it's obviously my wife's favorite, her sister's favorite. So I think they're gonna like that one. And trying to think,
Yeah, I was thinking it's fun for you to like be putting out a record like the week before 4th of July. Like,
it is, yeah,
good...
and to have some of those songs. I mean, because there's the ones that aren't so fun on there as well. But I just think, trying to find that balance, and getting older, and what can I still sing about, and what it's just it's different, but it's still awesome to get to do it. And those are just a few. There's one on there called "Country Boy Can't Survive." It's interesting. When I heard that title, I was like, "Can't Survive," and so just the way we wrote that, wrote that the day before we went in the studio. So I think that'll be a lot of people's. I think they'll love that one too. So just all of them. I can't wait for people to hear them all. And but it's fun getting to put out songs as we go. Building up the hype till the album comes out, because it's been a long time coming, and I'm just excited for the ones we're getting to put out till the whole project's out.
For sure. Talk about Happy Hour Sad Tour.
Oh, yeah.
You just announced this last week. You got Priscilla Block, Graylin James, and Logan Crosby coming out with you. Talk about bringing those three guys together.
I mean, that's, Happy Hour Sad, that's another one of my favorite songs on there, and it just felt like something we could definitely do. I feel like everybody on there likes to have a good time, and just felt like Happy Hour Sad was the right call. But then to have Priscilla, I've been a fan of hers for a while now, and anytime I've ever been around her, she's just so cool, man. And I've been always pulled for her, and to have her out and her fans and all that, it's gonna be really cool. So I love getting to take people on tour that I believe in. I've been fortunate enough to go on tours with people that did the same for me. So just getting a chance to, bring some people out. I love what they do, and to have them getting the crowd pumped up. I mean, I could not think of anybody better. Me and Graylin are tight, and one of my favorite writers, and just, Logan, he's a Georgia boy like me, I think. So I don't know him as well, but we, text back and forth. I'm looking forward to having him out. So
he's Aldean's cousin,
I think he is. He's
right?
related to Aldean, yeah. So we hadn't spent a whole lot of time together, but I know we'll change that on tour. So just excited to get back out there. This year was kind of supposed to be lighter on purpose. We did the Australia, New Zealand thing for a couple of weeks, but other than that, we're doing festivals in the summer, and the fall tour is really what we're gearing up. Getting this album out late June, and then getting the tour of these new songs, and can't wait to see all the people out there, man. That's what makes it fun, the crowd. So.
For sure. We're talking about, all the life stuff you've got going on between like putting out a single, a record, all these things. Is Baby coming before or after tour? Like
maybe right in the middle. I don't know.
Oh gosh.
It's been a challenge. My guy Kevin Meads at WME, I know he's been struggling trying to keep up with my schedule and make sure it all works, but that's why you have folks on your team like that, because this is a once in a lifetime deal here. So trying to figure out when I need to shut it off and be at home, but then they come early, it's just who knows. So we're gonna get the tour going, and I have some off time around when the babies do, and we'll pick back up after that, probably a little sooner than Courtney would like me to pick it back up, but we'll I know,
I feel for you guys always with this, because it feels like it always, like you plan these dates out like a year in advance, so you never really know, so it's really
and it's our first one. So we've never done this, so it's just I think we'll learn as we go, and if something were to happen, hopefully the fans they understand, and I've got to be there for that. But that's a good problem to have. We're gonna get to do shows and finish up the year with new music, a new baby, and just putting a new song out at some point. So things are looking good.
And I was excited for you when we back to tour, just like bringing Graylin out, because he like had so much stuff on this album. You're featured on one of his new songs, so I feel like it's a good place for you guys to do more writing.
Yeah, and we've done a couple of shows together before, and I love writing with him. So it just, to me, I mean, he's a golf buddy too, so it just makes sense, and I'm happy for him. His new stuff he's got coming out, he's out there killing it. I remember that kind of schedule is tough on people. They don't see that, the price you pay to have a song out there and to be touring and stuff. But he's one of my favorites. So we're that's a good point. We're gonna write some songs, and hopefully when you can go out there and do what you love and then add some new stuff to it, while you're out there touring new songs, you can't beat that. So.
For sure. He had like a really sweet post talking about, when he first came to town, like you were the person he kind of wanted to emulate. And when you were talking about, how you moved here as a writer, I'm sure people ask you all the time, because I don't think you meant to become an artist, right? Like that kind of like started to happen and you went with it. So like, what advice do you give to people who are like, I want to get out of being just a songwriter to also being an artist?
Yeah, it kind of depends. I mean, that's a personal choice. I played shows all through college, and I didn't write songs. I just learned how to entertain. I love being on stage, So when I moved here, yeah, I wasn't like, I'm going to go get a record deal. I really just wanted to be a better songwriter. I had become like, just it consumed me, songwriting and being a better songwriter, and doing that, and working on my craft, getting to where I could write my own music, and then having the experience on stage. It just kind of came together. So I would, yeah, anybody that's just writing and wants it, just depends. I mean, it's a lot of travel and a lot of things you don't see that you have to do it. But if you want your music to get heard, sometimes that's the best way. It's so hard to get other people to record them. Sometimes you got to record them yourself if you believe in them, and you've got other people that are willing to back you and they believe in them. And yeah, but Graylin, I told him, I was like, man, you got such a cool voice, and it's all about delivery. I mean, the way you can deliver a song, if people believe you or not. And I've always loved what he did, and that's cool of him to think that. But hey, a lot of people gave me a nudge and gave me that confidence as well to go chase it, because it really does seem crazy, when you think about it. But it's, it starts with taking that chance. There's a lot of people out there that probably could have, but never, or weren't able to take that chance. And I think, if you do it, you can always look back and say, at least I gave it a shot. And I think I'm so glad that I didn't have an option. I knew I was going to be in the music business somehow. It might not be a writer, it might not be an artist, but I love music too much to not be around it every day. So
exactly. I want to run through, because while we have you on the show, we're playing a bunch of your songs. So I want to run through some of the songs that you wrote and just the story behind them. Can you talk about the story behind Never Say Never, which you recorded with Lainey?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, we wrote this song years ago, me and Chase McGill and Jesse Alexander. It was the end of Reason to Drink tour. I think Laura and Elena was out. Dustin maybe was out. I can't remember. We were in New Orleans, last show of the tour, and I remember writing that song, and on purpose. I had never had a duet like that, and I remember us thinking it was cool, the answering, the back and forth. It even starts with the girl part on there, and we wrote it, and it felt like a great song. Then it just took a couple years for it to kind of finally find its home, and Lainey was coming off her first big hit, Things a Man Ought to Know, and it just kind of worked perfectly. When I sent it to her, I remember telling her she was on vacation too, and I did not mean, I know she was just off the road and did not want to be bothered, but thank God she responded to the text, because she made that song a lot of what it is. You got to have a good duet partner, and I'm so thankful that she was willing to do that, and to see what she's gone on to do is just, I could not be, there's not a better person in the world, nobody that deserves it more than her. But yeah, that was the kind of the story. I sent it to her on vacation. She listened and she said, I'm in. And I remember telling her I couldn't see nobody else singing I Told My Mama other than her, the first line of the song. So it worked out, and I think it helped both of us. So
For
really
sure.
Cool.
I remember talking to you around that time, just saying like, oh, you locked in Lainey at the right moment, because that was like, from there, it just.
Yeah, and I've seen videos. I mean, I think she still talks about it before she plays it at shows, and just, that's really cool. She's on top of the world, and certainly I'm thankful to have her on the song, and she's just a good person, and I'm so thankful she is, one of the new faces of country music, and will be for a long time. And when somebody that talented is that good of a person, it makes you pull even harder for them. So I love Lainey and Duck and her whole camp.
For sure. All right, and story behind Hope You Get Lonely Tonight.
Wow. This is,
can you remember?
Pretty crazy. Yeah, I'll try to make it quick as I can. But I remember I didn't have a record deal. FGL was out on tour with Luke, whatever year that was, early on, and I was out there writing. We wrote this, me, Michael Carter, and Brian and Tyler wrote this song the day. I remember listening to it in the little VIP room later on that night. Everybody's having drinks, and we're just like blaring it on this Beats box or whatever we had back then, and comes out. Or it comes out on my album. But before that, a quick story, we knew we loved it, and I think somehow Jason Aldean heard it or something and loved it and was maybe wanting to record it, and FGL was like, yeah, definitely give it to Aldean. I mean, I don't have anything going on, but I'm trying to get a record deal at the time, and we talked them into letting me keep it for myself, even though I could have used the Jason Aldean cut, and they, obviously that would have been a great move, and Jason was cool about it. And I just remember Carrie fighting for that song for me, because it's all about the songs and having something to follow up. Chillin' It, that was my second single, and the song that I played during radio tour, and just people were like, this is going to be another hit, I think. And it was my second single, and it kind of carried the momentum from the beginning. But yeah, we wrote that out on the road before I ever had a record deal, and some of those songs like that, you're trying to get other people to record, you end up needing them yourself. Right. So just everybody involved with that, it was just a cool thing. If I'd like to think I'd be all right if I wouldn't have had that song, but it was the perfect follow-up, and it just kind of every song, even though the format and just the landscape's kind of changed and the sounds and all that kind of stuff, but it's just, those are the songs that kind of got you where you are. So it's cool to have that, and then where, the kind of direction we are going now. So
yeah. So was that like t-shirt selling days for Luke?
What's that?
Was that still when you were selling? No, it was like a little bit later. It was after that. Okay.
I was, writing and then had some cuts.
Yeah.
And I think we'd already written This Is How We Roll and some of that stuff, Roller Coaster, and that was just one that I was out there that weekend, and we wrote and ended up being a hit on my debut album. So pretty crazy how songs.
For sure. And then I know we've talked about this before, but can you talk about the day that you guys wrote She Had Me at Heads Carolina? Because I think I was trying to find the audio from it, but I swear at some point I sat down with TR and he's like, I walked out of that writing session and I was like, that song ain't going nowhere. Like, what did we just write?
I know. He had to go pick up his kids or something, so he left, and thank God we got it right. And finished. But no, he played a big part in that. He was the original person I called, and just it was planned to be a feature, me and him do the song, and just it depended on what angle we wrote the song in, and I knew just what he would kind of sing and wouldn't, and it just we landed on the angle we thought would be best for both of us, and it just turns out I'm the one that sang it. But the day we wrote it, we didn't have a lot of time. I was literally cutting the next day or two or something to finish my last album. It seems like it always comes down to the last minute, but thankfully it has. But we wrote that song, and it just, when we first did it though, it really wasn't right. I knew it. I was like, man, it's just missing something. I think we need to go back. And so me and Ashley Gorley, and we sat in the room, and I think just kind of tweaked it a little bit more, and finally got it to where when we played it for somebody, they just flipped out, and that was it. But that was one of the last songs I recorded on my last album, and it turns out to be one of the biggest songs of my career, the one that people wait on the whole show now. We make them wait a little bit to hear that one, but it's just it's wild. That's another wild story of how that happened and last minute, and I can't imagine the last project without that song, and the things it's done for my whole camp. So it's been really cool.
It was career changing for you, but then I also feel like it was kind of changing for the genre, because when I think about like all the people that have used interpolation since then and had really cool songs, like that's like I always think like certain songs can't exist without like another song. Like somebody said to me once, they're like Hardy never writes one beer if Eric Church doesn't have two pink lines or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's just that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's all inspires the next whoever that is, and I think to have songs like that, or they don't happen all the time, but to be so I'm not the first one to ever do that either. So it's just but to be to see some come after it, it's nice to be somewhat first. Usually the ones that you're scared of. I was terrified. I was like, I'm going to get crushed for this. And you just usually those end up being the biggest ones, the ones you're scared. So there's a few like that on this new album that I know they're great, but it's just you have that still like people are gonna say something, but it is what it is. I'm different songs for different folks, and it's just I think we got a good blend of it on this new album, Spanish Moss.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear it this summer. Hopefully see you again.
I can't wait to get it to you.
Yeah, it'll be great. Excited to see the tour this fall. Congratulations. I feel like so many good things have been happening in your world these last few years, and it's really fun to watch. It's like you were saying about Lainey, like you see good things happening to a good person. Like it just makes you feel better about what we're all doing.
Absolutely. Likewise, and I appreciate the time today, and I can't wait for you to hear it all.
Awesome. Thanks, Cole.
Thanks, Katie.